I'd like to call to order the City of O'Fallon Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting for June 9th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Mr. Elder.
Present.
Ms. Hawbaker.
Present.
Mr. Hester is excused. Mr. Coaster.
Present.
Mr. Tremmel.
Present.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
Ms. Wilson.
Present.
Councilmember Wexler.
Present.
Keith, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Elder.
Wilson.
Thank you. All in favor to approve the agenda for this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, thank you. Approval of the minutes for the last meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
Wilson.
A second?
Elder.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes for the last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments? Don't rush the stage. Okay, thank you. Okay, division reports. Parks report first.
Yep. Thank you, Teresa. A couple things I want to go over, some highlights. The full report is actually in your packet. At Dames Park on May 18th, as you're aware, the park flooded. So it actually took 4 staff members 2 days cleaning it up. So we'll put that one behind us. But yeah, it's an ongoing issue every year. Field 1 is also closed at Dames Park. It will be closed until September 1st for annual field maintenance. At Sports Park, all the fields are closed.
Can I ask a few questions about Dames Park flooding?
Yes, sir.
Please?
Yes, sir.
When I was by there, the website photo was really amazing with how high the water was in the football field down there. I guess that's field 1.
Yes, sir.
What happens to the electronics in the scoreboard that are there? That water was all the way up almost to the top of the scoreboard.
Yeah, so the actual electrical component for the actual game field scoreboard is actually at the very top. So all of those, everything run from the main, I guess the junction box is up at the main top. So I don't anticipate it ever getting that high. The highest I've ever seen the park flooded in the 30 years that I've been here was probably, it covered the crossbar on the game field, which was about just to the north. There's a fire hydrant there. It was about right at the top of that fire hydrant. So that's the highest I've ever seen. So everything from the maintenance building, the concession stand, and the scoreboard itself is out of floodplain.
Okay, that's good. What about, I think it's the east field is where the Native American burial ground is, the 2,000-year-old.
Yes.
Does that flood when Peru Creek overflows its banks, or does that stay dry?
It does not. It floods as well. Now, the very tip of it may stay out of the flood, but actually the fields to the north or the back part of Dames, fields 2 and 3 in the back, that actually floods first. So the water, as it comes up through Peru Creek. So we have closed the back entrance before and not had to close down the first loop. That's why there's 2 sets of gates there.
Okay, and that's a final question then regarding that burial mound. Is there anything that's been discussed in past years with all the flooding to put some type of a wall or a dike of protection around that burial mound? It's been there for 2,000 years without us, but there's been a lot more development around there, so I suspect the flooding might be more focused than what it used to be over 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can't answer like how often it actually floods. We get probably anywhere between 6 to 7 good floods out there a year. I think it has decreased over the time. But majority of the park itself, Dames Park, I would say 95% of it is actually in floodway. So building any kind of structure or anything like that that causes any type of increase is a huge no-no. We have, I think, some floodway out at Sports Park as well, but that park doesn't flood as often. It does flood, but we may see a flood maybe once every 3 years.
Okay, yeah, since the city has taken upon itself to really protect that, which is great, just we need to make sure we're doing whatever we can to, that it doesn't go bad on our watch, that the whole thing gets washed away.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a good grass established on there, so we haven't seen any eroding or anything like that. Ever since we found the park, I guess, or the burial ground back in '98, they actually put a fence around it, which actually caused more harm at the time. It collected a lot of debris and stuff, so that has since been removed. But we've always had a good stand of grass and native plantings on it just so it doesn't erode. We did put a concrete sidewalk around it so people can actually walk around it. There's some informational boards around there that state some things about it, but yeah.
That's really impressive. Thank you.
Bill, before you move on, you said it took 2 days to clean up the flooding. How long was the water standing?
It comes up very fast, but it also goes down pretty quick. So it takes, I mean, just depending on how high it is, this last flood, it was down probably within 8 to 12 hours after it went up and actually crested. So, but
And when you say clean up, it took 2 days to clean up or maintenance it, that was for damage to the park?
not really damaged, but when we do that, we have to power wash and clean the bathrooms, the playgrounds. We have to get the silt off the road. If there's any debris, logs or anything floating, we have to get that off. So if you've ever been on an asphalt with silt,
Yeah.
after it rains, it's very slick. Dames Park is very, very passive, so a lot of people love to walk that park. So we want to make sure we wash down the roadways and get all that silt off so it's safe. So that's what takes so long.
Thank you.
At Sports Park, all the fields except fields 8 and 9 will be closed until September as well. That is also due to our annual field maintenance. And John, I know we got your email over the weekend that you noticed, so we do appreciate that. You know, we can't be out there at all times, you know, when people are pushing signs over and taking signs out of the ground and continuing to play on those. So we do appreciate that. We have staff here 7 days a week, but, you know, we can't be there at things. So we do appreciate that email letting us know on that. So the shade canopies were also installed out at Sports Park around the pickleball courts. Westoff Park, if you would notice, the construction team installed the new ADA parking space and sidewalk down by the tennis courts. We're getting that in preparation for the closure that's going to happen. That's in your packet. So Westoff Park, everything to the west will be closed from June 22nd to 26th, or June 22nd to June 26th. And that is so we can reseal the roadway, parking lots, and restripe everything. Majority of the amenities will be closed, fields 1 through 4, the tennis courts, basketball courts, roller hockey, pickleball courts, volleyball, and the small playground and pavilion will be closed during that time. Brendan's Playground, Splash Pad, Skate Park, and fields 5 through 7 will remain open. And you'll notice in your packet, it actually has a map. Staff has been working with communications and stuff like that, getting that out. So we worked closely with rec to make sure we didn't have ball fields and things like that scheduled. Obviously, they control all of the rentals and things like that, so we worked closely with them, making sure this timeline was going to work for everyone. And then just some couple of updates on staff updates I wanted to mention. Currently, we are 4 staff members short or down on the park side, and 2 full-time workers on landscape. So if you know anyone, please let us know. Tell them, direct them to the city website. Also, Brian Hawkins was promoted to park supervisor. Brian has been with the Parks Department for 23 years. His experience in field makes him a great fit for this position. Brian will oversee O'Day, Sports Park, Canals, Fort Zumwalt, and Civic Park. Also, Zach Miller was also recently promoted to Park Maintenance Crew Leader over at O'Day Park. Zach has been with the department for 3 years. And Mason Bradley was recently promoted to Parks Crew Leader over Fort Zumwalt Park. Mason had quickly excelled in his 10 months. He's only been with us for 10 months, but his true leadership has truly shined. So I just want to say congratulations to all those individuals. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Question, do you work at, since you're talking about staff, do you work at the various high schools in the area around here to set up a table or do presentations at Career Day for the students there to talk to them about careers with the city?
I personally have not. That's something that we're actually talking about right now because we're actually down 3 people on the facility side as well. So the Parks Department as a whole, we're down 9 people right now, which is probably the most I've ever seen. We did have a career day here that was held by the city that we were part of, and I believe we did hire 1 or 2 people out of that, but it is something that we are looking to. I know Rec has done some things like that, so I know we're going to work closely with them on trying to get some of the word out and start actually advertising at some of these high schools and, you know, career centers and things like that.
I mean, having a career day here, I guess, is fine, but you're depending on people learning about it and then coming here as opposed to reaching out to where they are, which would be a high school or a junior college, something like that.
Recreation report?
Thank you, Teresa. You have our report in front of you. Just a couple things I wanted to highlight. T-ball and coach pitch. We had 75 participants in T-ball and 88 in coach pitch. That's quite a bit more than we've had in the past. We changed the way we are looking at our age groups in soccer, just to align with the U.S. soccer guidelines. Birthday parties have been doing really well. We're at 170 bookings year to date, as opposed to 131 this time last year. We have river walking at Alligators Creek. It's something I think we've had a lot of interest in doing that at Alligators Creek. We were trying to make sure that the numbers worked, so we didn't. The Lazy River takes quite a few lifeguards, so we have a cost to cover. We were able to get enough passes sold so that we could do river walking. We've actually generated some revenue, so that's we're excited to be able to offer that. We had 187 swimmers in Torpedoes swim team, which is a little bit more than we normally do. I feel like that's been growing the past 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure where we're going to put all the kids. But in addition to that, you have a park passport in front of you. Kristen put that together again this year. I think she did an excellent job, and I think it's a great way for people to kind of have some fun, check out the different parks and the amenities in those parks. So those are available now. We had a meeting today on theater design, so there was it was a lengthy meeting, a great meeting, good information, a lot of discussion. So that project is continuing to move forward with Bill's help. And then we had our concession trailer was delivered today, so we're pretty excited about that. Now we just need to get the thing loaded up and ready to go, but I think it's going to give us some great potential to be mobile in some of our concession sales. And then I just wanted to go through some, Dalton sent this to me last minute, so I apologize if I kind of fumble through this, but he gave me some rainout numbers for Ozzy that I just wanted to share with you. Since March 10th of this year, we've had 32 days of rainouts at Westhoff Park. Of course, we don't have the artificial turf at Westhoff, but the obvious thought process is that if Westhoff rains out, then Ozzie would have rained out if we didn't have artificial turf. Ozzie has been closed 3 times this year for weather-related issues, but it was all due to lightning. Last year, Westhoff and Ozzie was closed 32 days as of May 8th in 2025, and 42 days by the end of June 2025. In 2024, we had 29 closures by June 9th. So obviously the impact is pretty impressive, just what we're able to continue to play on as opposed to what we've had in the past years.
What were the numbers for Westhoff closures this year again?
32.
32. Wow.
So, and you know, I mean, we opened a little bit later just because they were still finishing up. But I mean, normally we would start scheduling tournaments March 1st. But you know, if we got one of those tournaments in March, we were thrilled. You know, this year, next year, 2027, you know, we can start scheduling March 1st, and there's really no reason we wouldn't get them all in. So anyway, he sent me those numbers. I thought you'd be interested with it, so I wanted to share those.
Excellent. Is that it? Any questions for Craig? Jim, do you have a question?
I have a question for Bill that I.
Oh, okay.
May I?
Yes, please.
Did we end up being able to put up a page on the website identifying the plantings that we had talked about last year in the various locations to help people learn themselves what plants they're seeing, the flowers they're seeing, the plants they're seeing, so they can try to duplicate it if they love it?
I apologize, but let me double check. I'm not sure that was totally put up or completed. I know we were going through a transition there when Bob was in retirement mode. So let me double check. I don't believe it is, but I know we've been working on it. So let me get with David James and find out if we have that. We have all of Bob's files, but let me check with that, and we'll definitely get that up and going.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add on to that too, did you talk about the native plants or just the ones that are planted the perennials every year?
The plants is the perennials and the annuals that
Annuals.
we plant.
That's what I meant to say, annuals. Because there's a whole native garden over at Krekel. I believe it's all native in there. Is that correct? Maybe, and it looks like it might be all native over there in Krekel. It's a very pretty garden, so I think there also, if that truly is a native garden, it would be nice that people knew that these are natives.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And and maybe, David James is our new landscape superintendent, and I think Jeremy may have mentioned that last month to you guys. So he's new in his role, but he's been with the city for a long time. He's worked under Bob for over 20 years. So maybe I'll get with David, and maybe I can have him come at the next meeting and kind of explain and see where we're at in that progress,
Nice.
and kind of give an overview of that if you guys would like.
Sure, that'd be great, as long as he's had enough time to transition.
Well, he's actually shorthanded right now as well,
Yeah,
so
I don't want to put a lot of
he's
pressure
going
on
crazy
the
now.
guy.
So,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Did you have anything else, Jim? Okay. All right, Tourism Festivals report.
Just a couple things I wanted to mention. Cultural arts, the art that's on display right now from May through August. Here at City Hall, we have Kendall Welch. His medium is pen drawing. Krekel Civic Center, we have Kimberlyn Renee. It's named Toothaches and Memories. At the Renaud Center, we have GH Art Studio. Abstract combines texture art using multiple mediums and art techniques. Upcoming Jamin concerts tonight, we have Just in Time, which is top 40. Next week, next Tuesday at 6:30, we have the Big Rigs, which is country. June 23rd, we have Griffin and the Gargoyles, which is dance. June 10th from 4 a.m. to midnight is the flash sale for the carnival tickets. $28 in advance plus fees. My goodness, I need to make sure I mention that. $28 plus fees in advance, or $37 plus fees on site. We have over 73 parade applications, and staff had a meeting, a vendor meeting on the 3rd. Tomorrow night, they have parade packet pickup, and then volunteer meeting on June 24th. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Craig on the festivals? We're going to have the HFF coming up real soon. Everybody's ready to volunteer? Okay, any old business? New business? Parks and Recreation Month, Kristen?
Hi, everybody. I will not take up too much of your time. I just wanted to come touch base. I think I've given John and Craig a couple of bullet points over the last few months with some Parks and Rec Month planning and get excited kind of stuff. And just wanted to come kind of present it to you and let you know what we had going on. So July 2026 will be Parks and Recreation Month. That's a national thing that NRPA does, that a lot of departments kind of put on their own spin on. The theme this year is the power of parks and recreation. So they're really honing in on some of these points. So we are connection points. We are where people go to play, to celebrate their community, to get out into nature, to find where they belong, and just overall live a more well-rounded and life. And so we were at the Missouri Parks and Recreation Conference, myself, and I think another manager was in the session with me, and another municipality was talking about what they do for Parks and Recreation Month. So we brought the passports to life a couple of years ago, and we're doing these little pop-up get out and play days to try to connect kids to maybe some different activities in the park. And we had hit the ones that we wanted. They weren't necessarily yielding the results that we wanted them to. We feel the passport is still a really great tool for all ages to get out and explore. So if you have seen prior years and you're looking at this year's, you'll see it is a little bit different in the way that it's structured, so that it's just kind of on your own terms. And some of those event efforts we've shifted now into our Parks and Recreation Month plans. So we already have a lot going on in July, and I'll touch on that on the next slide. But we wanted to bring some new free pop-up events to the community to just celebrate everything that we do, and hopefully maybe introduce people to new people in their community, introduce them to a new program or event or staff member. So if they are, a young kiddo who wants to do something a little bit more creative, we can maybe connect them to Dana and get a touch base there. We're going to do a senior ice cream social, so that way Renaud is kind of tied into everything. I'm really excited that Jenny and her fitness instructors are actually, we're calling it Renaud on the Road. And they're going to bring some fitness classes that are family friendly to the Dames Park Corporate Pavilion, so that you can get a little wellness in outside as a family if you're looking for something to do. The splash pad socials, I think, will be really fun. That's just hopefully here's some popsicles, meet some new friends, and get that energy out before nap time. And then we're going to wrap it all up with a brand new event called Messy Mania. We, full disclosure, completely stole this from the girl who presented to us because it sounded like a lot of fun. We're going to do it down at Sports Park. And essentially all the activities that kids may want to do at home, but parents don't want to mess with because they're messy, we're going to bring them down there. So think science experiments, bubbles, art, all those fun things for an hour. And I'm really excited that the O'Fallon Fire Protection District is going to join us so we can hose everybody off and ship them home when it wraps up. So that one's really fun, and we're really excited. Like I said, these are all going to be free. They will be on our social media and on RecTrack for registration, just so we can kind of watch numbers by the end of this week, but I wanted to kick them to you guys first. And then, of course, this is everything that was already planned for July, which should not be overshadowed by what we're adding that's free, because it's still a lot of really cool, programs and events that our staff takes a lot of time to create. So Top Time is one that I think Ren Meeks and Anne, who oversee our aquatics programming, they have added those this year. And I think both June sessions have already sold out, or maybe have like one spot left. So those will be really cool, so that littles can swim early in the morning. We all know and love our jam and concerts, Heritage and Freedom Fest. So this is kind of a mix of free and paid, but both of those slides together create everything that we have planned for July. So it'll be a very busy month and should be fairly simple for O'Fallon residents and the surrounding communities to tap in and come spend some time with us. So just things that you guys can do to kind of help us or be a part of the fun, because it happens because of all of your time that you spend with us as well. We are receiving a proclamation at the council meeting on June 25th. Right in this room at 7:30 p.m. I think Craig's already mentioned that, and it's probably been in some minutes, but we'd love to have you guys there as well. If any of the events I mentioned sound like fun, I think Splash Pad, I don't know. I know that's normally little, but you guys might like it too, but there are some adult things as well. We'd love to see you there. Obviously, if you take your passport, share it, get out and explore on your own. I know it feels like it's geared towards kids, but I mean, that's kind of the fun of Parks and Rec, right? Like you play at any age, and hopefully it's a tool that gets you out and exploring, and you can take your friends and family with you. So, any questions?
So you did this?
Me?
You did it.
Yeah.
It is really sleek.
Thank
It
you.
looks really, really good. It looks, I mean, they've all been good. I've liked them every year that they've come out. But this one is just a step up, I think. It looks very professional,
Thank you.
and it's something that both children and adults, I think, can enjoy. I like it a lot.
That was the goal. Thank you. I will give credit where credit's due on that one. Danielle Recht, who I think you all had the chance to meet, and I know she
Yeah.
has departed us after many, many years, but she kind of brought back an example when she went away to director school, I think maybe last fall or spring, and that it was, I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. So her adventure out that way, and I think that's something that's really cool about this too, is we're looking at ideas from other places and bringing them here, and that makes it a little bit more seamless for us to try to do really cool things. So I'm glad you like it.
And also, I when you say Danielle departed, she left for a better job, or a different job. I shouldn't say better job. And in that way, she departed. But
Yes.
You said that you can get a lot of ideas from seeing what other people do, but I think also because there's been several people that have left the city of O'Fallon and gone to Wentzville and to other cities to do great things. And I think that you can still stay in touch with those people and kind of have a network going of things to share ideas about what's working, what's not working. So
Yep.
it's kind of nice to have people go out into different areas of our own community, just maybe farther out in boundaries, and still be able to share ideas. So I think that's exciting too, having these people go and do other things.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say both Bill and Craig send staff members, and they also attend as well to Missouri Parks and Rec Association state conference every year. And that's a really great opportunity for us to, exactly like you said, share ideas. That's where a lot of, I mean, Messy Mania, I literally was like, that is perfect. Here we go. Like,
Yeah.
so, and it's not, that's a town that's halfway across the state. So it's not like we're stealing anybody's idea or anything. It's just bringing it over here. And yeah, it's really cool.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with stealing an idea, as long as you're not taking
agree.
credit for it. So
Exactly.
just steal it. Steal all you want. Yeah. Any other questions for Kristen?
Where do people pick up these passports?
So right now they're at our larger events. So like Jammin', I think they may have been at Whiskers and Wags. They were at Food Truck Frenzy, I think. We're gonna pull some aside because I know we're getting more into Heritage and Freedom Fest, and we'll have a couple weeks break from the Jammin' concerts and probably put them up at Renaud so they can get grabbed as well.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
John, we're going on to budget 101, everybody's favorite subject, budgets. I'm assuming that's what this is.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so as Kristen mentioned, summer's definitely a very busy time for all of us. So those events she talked about are obviously kind of the upfront and visible, what our staff are working on. But with us being on a calendar year budget, this is also a very busy time behind the scenes. Lots of staff working on getting fees and wages and everything in for next year. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of talk through at least what recreation's process looks like. The timeline will probably translate for most of the departments throughout the city, but some of the other information might be specific to rec. So we operate out of 4 different funds. We have our general fund, which is the 110, and primarily tourism and festivals uses that money. And then recreation fund, which is the revenues and expenses you see there. The Renaud fund is the 540 fund. And then in addition to just having an expenses line or fund within that, there's also facilities maintenance are separated out as well, which is the 54620. And then we also have a transient guest tax fund, which has the revenues and transient guest tax there. The recreation fund, primary revenue source for that is a 0.5-cent sales tax, whereas the Renaud fund is an enterprise fund. So in an ideal world, it would recover all of the costs associated with the Renaud Center. It is subsidized to some degree by the recreation fund every year. And then just a quick timeline. So spring is really when it first starts. Really, that's just making new Excel sheets and everything, because we operate on a zero-based budget. So, of course, staff do reference, past years from time to time just to kind of inform their estimates for next year. But we do try and make sure that we're starting from scratch as much as possible, and, making sure things that are being included in the proposed new budget are truly a need and are not just something that got copied over. And then after that really comes the fee schedules and the part-time wages, which are due to managers within recreation in mid-June. And then that kind of takes us into the summer. So the recreation budget and the CIPs, which are our capital improvement, those are due in early July for both for recreation and Renaud, and then employee wage schedule and fee schedule are due to the finance department at the end of July. So then I come in after that and kind of enter everything into Munis, which is our official financial software that we use. So really just transcribe everything over from Excel to Munis at that point. And then the fall is really when things get kind of more finalized. So finance meets with all the directors and such throughout September. They meet with the mayor and the council pro tem in that month as well, and then that moves into public hearing notices, and then the first and second reading of the budget, which is in November and December respectively. So that's really when it becomes more of a public, information, and they evaluate with the council kind of what things are going to look like, and things get approved, rejected, things like that. So taking it back just to more recreation specifically, NovaTime is our staff software we use for all of our hours. So that's what everyone full-time or part-time clocks in and out with. We use, for as far as budget goes, a lot of times like year-to-date numbers. So obviously we're like at the middle of the year now. We will kind of evaluate truly how many hours have been used for the various positions and pay rates, and then we'll kind of combine that information with what did Q3 and Q4 of last year look like to kind of make that whole full year picture. And then another thing that we evaluate is, especially at Renaud, we have a lot of instructors, which their salary or their pay rate is kind of a little bit different. So they're market-based, and they're not guaranteed an increase every year. We really just evaluate kind of what compensation for that type of position at another facility nearby is, and then make a determination from there if that's going to go up or not, versus just our standard part-time staff, which would be your lifeguards, your concessions workers, your camp staff, people like that. Every 750 hours they log, they're eligible. They get an evaluation at that time, and then an increase provided they're in good standing. So that's another thing for staff to consider is just, when taking a look at who do we think is going to be back next year. For like lifeguards, for example, we have over 100 of those. Do we anticipate, 2/3 or more are going to be returning, or are we going to have a lot of new guards? Because that, with that amount of staff and the amount of hours they work can add up to kind of change what the total for wages would look like. Then the fee schedule, as I mentioned before, gets submitted to finance in late July. And one thing we kind of take into consider with that is Missouri has the Hancock Amendment, which was passed in 1980. And there's kind of 4 components with that amendment. The one that really pertains to us the most would be the voter approval requirement. And that amendment is really related to taxes and what, state and local governments can charge. But we do try to kind of follow the rules and regulations within there with wages as well. So we generate a fee schedule, which I've included 2 of the pages of that in your packets. I'm happy to send the full version to any of you after the meeting if you'd like. But I just wanted to at least give you those 2 since those had the majority of the changes were on those pages. But that really just provide transparency regarding recreation fees, and it supports compliance with the principles and requirements that are in that amendment is really why we do the fee schedule. So by making, the fee schedule and giving that to finance and kind of incorporates that into the larger budget discussion that then goes to council and becomes public. So that's really our notification process to let people know, what we're charging. One thing that's not included in there you won't find is program fees. Those, obviously they're available like on our website or in RecTrack, our software we use, but they're not in the fee schedule just because with wages and just all the other variable costs that come with running and executing programs, we don't always have that information in terms of like equipment and staff and what that's going to look like in time. And we also, its program fees are somewhat market dependent as well. So those aren't in the fee schedule, but pretty much everything else, renting facilities, memberships, anything like that is in there. And then the last component really is just the capital improvement, the CIPs, and those are really more like one-time or situational expenses, divided into the 5 categories you see there: land, building, improvement, equipment, and vehicles. And some examples down at the Renaud Center of what those would be like our Dectron, which is the pool-specific kind of HVAC system we have. Last year we resurfaced a parking lot down at the Renaud Center, and I believe this year we're doing the gym floor. So that would be another CIP. But really it's more of those big ticket items that are not just a regular expense. They're for primarily repairs and maintenance that come up, as needed. The exception to that would be our cardio equipment. We track like the usage on all of those, and every year we pretty much have CIP money allocated to replace various pieces of cardio equipment. So that is kind of the exception to that rule because that's an almost annual thing that is done. But pretty much all the other ones would just be your one-off expenses that you try to plan ahead for. We, obviously the Renaud Center is over 20 years old at this point. Krekel and O'Day are still on the newer side, but as they age, more maintenance items that are costly would come up. So that's really all I have. I'm happy to take any questions.
Go ahead.
I have 3 questions. First, and 3 different things. The staffing for your 2027 budget, I know you have full-time, part-time, seasonal. You have, I believe, an approved number for each one of those categories by parks, recreation, tourism, festivals. There's a number of people that are approved right now that you could hire up to that number.
For full-time, it does pretty much operate like that. I mean, there's established positions, and that would be a decision made with upper management and council to.
My question is, with what you have now, will that carry over to 2027, or do you have, I'm asking because I haven't been here before, are you restricted by saying you can't have any more than a certain number, or if you don't use those, or don't fill those positions by the end of the year, do you lose those as approved positions, or what? Does it start all over again?
So we don't, when we come to part-time staff, we don't talk about positions. We talk about hours.
Okay.
So we could have
FTE or
10
something.
people working 4 hours a week, or we could have 2 people working 20 hours a week. So when we submit our budget, when staff goes through the whole process, we're talking hours. It may take, I mean, we've got 350 part-time staff, so it may take us 320 to do that, or it may take us 360 to do that. The goal would be to have fewer people working as many hours as they can, but it logistically just works out that, if it's just hard to get everybody working 35 hours a week.
So if you don't fill all of the desired slots right now, that's not going to hinder you for your 2027 budget? You can start, you already have a number in mind for that?
Yeah, so the 2026 budget ends and we start anew on 2027. Is that,
I guess I'm not asking,
Sorry.
the best way to say it, I guess, is are you going to be hurt any with the fact that you have so many open positions right now at budget time? Is that going to cause you any problems?
as far as what we're requesting next year? No,
Yes.
it will not.
Okay.
It's been,
That's,
sorry, it's been-
that's what I wanted to get. All right, good. Second question regarding the 2027 budget, the funding, I believe, for the Greenway, Blueway connection for Sports Park to Bluebird Park in Arden Prairie, the funding comes this fall. Will that be one of the capital improvement projects that'll show up for next year in the budget?
Yes, so when you see our budget and we present it, under the recreation budget, under the park side of things, I have reserve accounts that I've set up under those. Those reserve accounts are kind of similar to like savings accounts. So every year we take money and we put into these accounts. It could be for turf maintenance, it could be for properties, but this money in the trails and the Bluebird we have been putting money into that. So that comes out of the reserve part of it. It's still part of our budget, and we still have to allocate it to that project, and the council still has to vote on it and approve it. But it's easier to say, I've been saving and I have this money sitting aside for this project, rather than saying, hey, I need this much money that's coming out of it. It gives Craig and I an opportunity to look at our bottom line to prioritize certain projects and certain capital expenses.
So that one from Sports Park to Bluebird Park will show up both in the CIP and in the budget for 2027?
Yes, it will be in the bottom line in the overall. You'll see an overall cover sheet that shows all of our revenues, all of our expenses, and then it'll show our ending reserve balance and any reserve funds. It's in there, so.
Good, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, were you done? Okay, go ahead.
The question was a different topic, so go ahead if you have a follow-up.
So your reserve money, your reserve funds, you say those are, where does it come from? Where does the reserve money come from?
We budget for it and we put
So
money
you
into it.
budget for a reserve,
That's correct.
and you allocate it as needed?
As needed, that's correct. But it still counts against our overall
Right.
revenue source,
And-
because I have to account for that money that it's in your savings.
And where is that money put? What division or account is that put in?
It stays in the recreation fund.
In
Which
recreation.
recreation fund is the Parks and Recreation Fund, since we went to a sales tax. So we used to have a Parks Fund
Right,
that ran Parks and Rec, and that's when we were based off of property tax. But since we passed the new sales tax and the half-cent sales tax, we renamed the account. We got a new account code, so we just called it the Recreation Fund. So Parks and Rec operate out of the Recreation Fund.
got it.
The reserve funds, when you create a new reserve account, you have a specific time limit you're going to use that money on, or can they be open-ended?
It's open-ended. I just have to account for it every year when we allocate funds in our budget, it goes to council and it shows a running total of in there. So for example, Public Venue Fund, when we did the turf out at the stadium 10 years ago, we knew at some point that we would have to replace that turf. So every year in the Public Venue Fund, I put away $35,000. So in every year I put in $35,000. So the thought process is in 10 to 12, 15 years, whenever we decide that I have to replace this, it's easier to say to council, hey, we've been saving this money, I have $250,000. It doesn't hinder the bottom line. It's already been accounted for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You'll do it.
Go ahead.
And how many reserve accounts do you think you have that you're working these, you see these long-term projects like that where every year you put a little money away?
Off the top of my head, I know of 3.
Okay.
We have 3 reserve accounts. We have an unreserved fund balance. That is the total budget that we have in our reserve for the Parks and Rec. We have itemized reserve accounts for, we have one called Walkable Bikeable. We have one called the, hold on a second, I can pull it up here. Walkable Bikeable Path, Park Maintenance, and Future Park Funding. So those are the 3 reserve accounts that I have set up currently in the parks budget or the recreation fund. So for example, as of right now, we have $452,000 in the Walkable Bikeable, $308,000 in park maintenance, and $100,000 in future park funding. So that's set aside for anything that may come up.
And if you do not use that in this budget cycle, then does it go away, or does it?
It rolls over and
Rolls
it
over.
continues to, as long as we put the funds there, if that makes any sense. So if I don't allocate those funds to go into those committed reserve funds, it goes to 0. And then that funding goes right back into the pool of cash.
All right, you had other questions?
No, I'm done, thank you.
Oh, you're done, okay. I guess we answered your other question? Okay. And you're finished, John?
That was all I
Any
had
other
for
questions for John? Can you go back to your first, your very first slide, that one there? So I had a question. So you have general recreation, or not in transit guest tax. Now I don't remember what my question was.
I forgot to include parks on there, so they're actually the 220, 820. So that's
Park,
when Bill
okay.
was saying how they're shared in the recreation fund. That's where they're at.
Okay, so if you have four, you have 4 accounts, but if something is not used from recreation, can it ever be put over into general? Can you mix them and match them, in other words, on your, or are they all set for those particular, designated for those particular areas?
That would be pretty fair as far as or pretty rare as far as I
Okay.
know.
Right,
Within each of these, we kind of, on the Excel side especially, have like mini lines that we have, and we can work with some of Donna and Abby and our other administrative staff to move money that was maybe earmarked for tennis or something that we now need for this. But as far as moving something from like the Renaud fund to the recreation fund, that
You
doesn't
don't really do
typically
that.
happen.
And then
yeah.
your revenues for the Renaud go back to Renaud, or do they go into general? For all your revenues go back to that particular account?
So, yeah, all the revenues related to like memberships or a program that just take place only at Renaud would go back there, and then just with all of the wages in the building and everything else, potentially recreation could do a transfer at the end of the year to bring it up to where it would need it to be.
One final question for me is, you said you replace actually 2 final questions. You said you replace the cardio equipment fairly regularly every year about. So what do you do with the old equipment?
For some of it, they'll use like gov deals to offload it that way. I don't know if some of it just gets tossed or donated.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how it's purchased, but the 2 options, like John said, is gov deals, and then we'll just trade it in. So whatever vendor we're working with will give us so much for the equipment that they're taking.
So there's not a warehouse full of old equipment sitting around?
No,
Okay, good.
not that I'm aware of.
You should see Craig's basement.
Oh,
It's quite impressive.
There's a lot of coat hangers.
All right, I'm sorry, this is my last question. So you were talking about the CIPs, and you had mentioned, as an example, the gym floor being replaced. Now, don't we replace that on a fairly regular basis, like every so many years?
We try to schedule it every 4 years. It just
Okay,
depends on what
that's
kind
what
of,
I thought.
it gets a lot of use, so
Yeah.
it gets beat up. So 4 years is probably a little bit further, but, so we do that for, I think we've got it scheduled for like 16 years, and then at that point, it's not just a shave off the top and recoat it. It's we bring it all the way back down to wood, and that gets pretty costly. So
So if you're doing this on a yearly basis, you know which years you need to budget for that particular project ahead of time. I mean, you know when that's going to come to.
So, and John didn't get into this very much, but finance does a 5-year CIP, and so yes, we lay out kind of the regular expenses throughout those 5 years. And then, you know, you can kind of rearrange that as it goes. If we feel we can get another year out of the floor, you know, we can push everything back. If numbers aren't looking good, or maybe we've got a little extra money this year, you know, we can maybe pull something up a little bit quicker. So yeah, we've got that all laid out the best way we can. You know, maintenance is not an easy. It's kind of hard to guess how much you need to spend to repair things that you didn't realize were ready to.
Right. Thank you, John. Any other questions? Thank you, John. Did you do this report?
So those were 2 pages of the fee schedule that is really a joint effort amongst staff and managers.
Did you think it was a good idea to make these so small? I mean, was that your idea? Because, you know.
I will say that's the
I'm
first
like
time we've probably printed it out in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, was that a 20-year-old that put this together there?
Yeah, I am the one that printed those, if you're asking.
Just keep in mind the average age of the
Understood.
people on this board.
Real quick,
Yeah,
putting the presentation aside, just want to quickly highlight the Parks and Recreation bingo that you'll find on page 26 of the latest city newsletter. So those are a variety of free and paid activities that residents, really anybody in the area, can do. And then if you get a bingo and bring it to the Renaud Center by Saturday, August 15th, you can select between a tumbler, a tote bag, or a water bottle as your prize.
okay.
Okay.
We need to put that out at the jamming concerts. So
Is that the new one coming out, or is that one available now?
It should already have been mailed to you or in the mail. There are copies on the counter out in the rear entrance there, and there's plenty down at the Renaud Center to get. But we'll make sure we have some at the booth to hand out to people as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the election of officers. So we have chairman, vice chair, and secretary. All sitting people in those positions have agreed to continue on unless there's a nomination from the board for anybody new or different to take one of those spots. Any ideas, suggestions, or anybody want to volunteer? No.
I move that we accept the positions as volunteered.
So you move that we continue with the exact same officers
As they have volunteered, yes.
as is current. Okay. And do I have a second?
Coaster? Second?
Thank you. John, is there any other thing that we have to add to that to make sure, 'cause it's to go on the record to make sure everything's kosher?
No, I think that's sufficient. So
Okay.
Trammell was the first motion, correct, and then Kester.
Correct. Okay. Can I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We have a new election of officers in place. Thank you. We do? We do. You're it again.
It again.
Okay. All right, so now we have the good of the order. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up, add, discuss? Come on, people, nothing? Really? All right. Well, I just wanted to say we're going to be gearing up for a nice hot summer and lots of things going on with HFF, and I'm excited about that, and please join us at Jammin'. Somebody, everybody, at least one night at Jammin' would be fun. It is hot, but it's nice, it's fun to watch the dancers. It's fun to be out there and talk to people, and they really do come by, Craig, they come by the booth because they want freebies. And we've not had any freebies. It's amazing how many people don't talk to you if you don't have freebies. So, but they have been, everybody's been commenting about these. They really like the park passes, so I think they've been a big success this year. Thank you very much. I now call. Oh, yeah. Do I have to have a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Wilson?
Second?
Elder?
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.